Bluey has plenty of amazing and interesting characters, but did you know that some of them seem to be hiding secrets from us? Banjo. Do you know Banjo? If not, that's okay, because he's never actually appeared in the show. Everything we know about him comes from what other characters have said, especially Bingo in the episode Bin Night. She starts talking about a boy named Banjo who recently joined her class at school. Bingo mentions him several more times during different nights shown in that episode, but always in a negative way. According to the youngest healer, Banjo is very rude and calls her and everyone else mean names. At one point, Bingo even says Banjo told her that her arms were too short, clearly trying to embarrass her. Those comments make it clear that Banjo is nothing more than a bully. So far, Banjo has never had an actual appearance in the series, but that could change in the next season. Will he really be as mean as Bingo makes him sound? Or is it all just one big misunderstanding? If Banjo truly is someone who picks on his classmates, it would be interesting to see an episode centered on bullying where he finally shows up. And that's just the beginning, because we're about to tell you all about the 9 most mysterious characters in Bluey that you absolutely need to know. Felix. Besides Banjo, Bingo also has another classmate who never showed up on screen. His name is Felix, and he was mentioned for the first time in the same episode as Banjo. Bingo told Bandit that, just like he did with everyone else, Banjo insulted Felix. Except this time, Felix got revenge and made Banjo cry. After that, Felix and Bingo actually became friends. So yeah, Felix sounds like a tough kid. And since he became friends with Bluey's little sister, his chances of appearing in a future episode are even higher than Banjo's. But for now, everything we know about him comes from stories, and that makes him pretty mysterious. The Homeless Dog. Bluey is one of the few kids shows brave enough to show some of the harsh realities of life, like the moment when the little blue pup finds an injured bird that sadly passes away soon after. Another example is the brief appearance of a homeless dog in certain episodes. He's never had any real focus, only appearing as a background character, but that doesn't change the fact that the show is subtly acknowledging that not everyone has a home, showing that the world of Bluey isn't always perfect and full of flowers. Because he's just a background character, we don't know much about the homeless dog, but maybe he's more important than we think. After all, he's a terrier, and if you remember, the mother of the terrier triplets was single until she met Cornelius. She isn't a terrier herself, which suggests that the terrier side of the family may have come from the father, and that father could have ended up homeless after a divorce. Technically, the triplets only have terrier as a last name since they're schnauzers, but that doesn't rule out the possibility that the surname came from their dad. Just imagine if the terrier's father really lost everything and ended up living on the streets. An episode explaining what actually happened to him and showing him slowly rebuilding his life would definitely be one of the most emotional stories in the series. Gruber. Bluey has lots of classmates, and while some stand out more than others, Gruber is one who got very little attention, but his case is quite mysterious. We know he studies with Bluey because we see him playing at school in the episode Mums and Dads. However, he suddenly disappeared and stopped showing up in class. What happened to him? The most popular theory is that he moved to Germany. Why? Because Gruber is a German name and his breed also seems to be German, so it makes sense that his family might have returned to their homeland. But there's one small detail that puts this theory in doubt.
Gruber actually reappears in season 3 as a background character in the episode Pass the Parcel.
Still, he isn't shown in school, nor does he appear in later classroom scenes. So, did Gruber just change schools? Maybe he simply transferred to another one. After all, that's probably not the only school for kids Bluey's age in Brisbane, the Australian city where the show takes place. If Gruber's family moved to another part of Brisbane, it would make sense for him to start studying somewhere closer to home. Even so, it's still possible he really did move to Germany. His brief reappearance doesn't completely disprove the theory. Maybe he just visits Australia from time to time. After all, that was his home for quite a while, and it's not something you just forget. If you think it would be awesome to see these characters finally have their mysteries revealed, drop a comment below with #mysteries. Missy. Missy is another one of Bingo's classmates, and yes, there's a big mystery surrounding her. In Pass the Parcel, there's a scene where the kids start crying and run straight to their moms. And that's when we notice something unusual. Missy's mom is a completely different breed from her. That's pretty strange, considering that most dogs in Bluey are the same breed as their parents. But of course, this could simply be the show's way of showing that there are all kinds of families, just like Cornelius's new one. He's a bulldog married to a schnauzer, with kids who are also schnauzers, yet they're called terriers, probably because their biological father was a terrier. So maybe Missy just takes after her dad's breed. But there's a popular theory that Missy is actually adopted. Her mom being a completely different breed is already a big clue. But there's another one. Her name, Missy, sounds a lot like missing, a word used to describe people who have disappeared. What if that's a hidden reference? That Missy might be a little dog who got lost from her biological parents and was later adopted by a new family? Bosco. Before having her beautiful wedding in season 3, Frisky had a failed relationship with Bosco. We're not sure how long they dated, but it ended, and not on good terms. Thankfully, she later met Rad, who reminded her that love still exists. Their wedding is absolutely adorable. As for Bosco, no one really knows what he's up to these days, and fans would kill to see him show up in Bluey. Just kidding. Well, at least we hope no one would take it that far. When Frisky tells the story of the princess and the prince in Double Babysitter, she says a few things that seem to reflect her past heartbreak with Bosco, including a line about the prince going after other princesses afterward. Could that mean her ex found a new girlfriend before she even got over him? In the worst case scenario, that line could mean Bosco actually cheated on Frisky with another woman, and that's why they broke up. If that's true, Bosco would definitely top the list of Bluey's biggest jerks. Brandy's husband. Aunt Brandy is truly amazing. Her journey toward motherhood is inspiring, especially since she finally got pregnant after years of failed attempts. We were all shocked when she appeared pregnant in The Sign, and now everyone's excited for the next season, which will probably show the baby being born. But her pregnancy raised a big question. Who is the father of this child? If Brandy is going to be a mom, that probably means she has a husband, but we've never seen him in the entire series. Not even in The Sign, where so many of Bluey's relatives showed up. Of course, there could be a simple reason for that. If he works somewhere far away like Rad did before marrying Frisky, then it makes perfect sense that he didn't appear in that episode. But there's another, very different theory, that Brandy's husband doesn't actually exist. Since she had such a hard time getting pregnant, maybe she finally succeeded through a special fertility treatment involving artificial insemination. In that case, the baby's father would be an anonymous donor who provided genetic material. That would be quite unusual, but Bluey is a show that loves exploring different kinds of stories to teach kids that not all families and people are the same. Winton's mom. We've talked about the possible ex of the terrier's mom, but her new boyfriend, Cornelius, also went through a failed marriage. Winton, his son, was born from that previous relationship, but we know almost nothing about his mother, Cornelius's ex-wife. She's never appeared in the show and has only been mentioned a few times. Now that Cornelius is building a new family, it would be really interesting to bring his ex into the story. Maybe in an episode focusing on Winton trying to adjust to having two families. One with his dad, stepmom, and the terriers, and another with his mom and maybe even a stepdad if she's in a new relationship too. It would also be interesting to find out whether Winton's parents' separation was peaceful or something more complicated, because that would affect how their son deals with it all. But thinking about it, if that homeless dog really is the terrier's biological father, could it be that Winton's mom has actually appeared before and we just never noticed her connection to him? After all, since Winton is a bulldog like Cornelius, it means he takes after his dad, so his mom could be any breed at all. The elderly pug. If you've watched the episode Grannymobile, you probably remember getting annoyed by that old pug who acted like a total freeloader toward Doreen. Besides having no manners whatsoever, the old lady almost convinced Doreen to sell her an expensive vehicle for next to nothing. Even though she's so unpleasant that many fans wish she'd be tossed into a black hole and never return in another episode, the truth is that this character, who only appeared once, might have more story to tell. Especially because there's a real chance she could be the grandmother of one of Bingo's classmates, Buddy. After all, he's also a pug and sometimes acts a bit rude himself, doing things like picking his nose and secretly stealing food. That's exactly the kind of behavior you'd expect from a kid who's been spoiled by a grandma like that. One who spoils him instead of teaching him what's right and wrong.